From the start, it's clear that Kiborg Arena is inspired by the Batman Arkham series of games. Its gameplay is pretty simple, but not bad. Basic combat can eventually get too repetitive, even when you've unlocked/learned different combos. Fatality-styled animations are entertaining, but KA would have come off as the same kind of game without them. What's different about the Arkham series of games is that it's possible to focus on gunplay. It's one of four main ingredients that makes up KA's combat, those being hand-to-hand combat, gunplay, melee weapons, and unlocking upgrades/abilities. I like that being aggressive with hand-to-hand combat regenerated ammo. It's kind of how Bloodborne rewards you for being aggressive by allowing part of your health to be regenerated. What bothered me was that aiming was a bit wonky. There were multiple times where I could be facing enemies, but as soon as I took out my gun to aim at them, I wouldn't be facing in their direction. Forcing myself into the right direction was possible, but I didn't want to have to deal with that. I wanted to end up aiming in the direction I was looking towards. Playing hand-to-hand combat, gunplay, and the occasional time I choose to use a melee weapon eventually started to feel old. Being able to unlock new weapons and upgrades helped spice things up by implicitly and explicitly changing gameplay. You could unlock buffs, upgrades, abilities, and combos as a result of the points you'd earned through previous runs. Rather than having all of these options, I would have liked to have been able to utilize more of the abilities/upgrades that drastically changed things. I started to feel that way because the more upgrades I unlocked while in the middle of a run, the more my character's appearance changed. This allowed me to see the cool character design ideas that were present in KA. Having played 4 hours of KA, I don't know how many of these visual changes are part of the overall game, but within that amount of time I was able to see a decent number of them. This part of KA starts to be encountered more frequently the longer your runs last. I'm somewhat sure that after every 5th level, you'll reach a checkpoint that you can directly start off from during subsequent runs. I'm sure that there's a limit to this, but seeing as how I didn't beat the game and this is a first impressions video, I can't say at what point that occurs. Still, I thought it was great to be able to start off at a later point and still be able to acquire all of the upgrades you'd normally get. That's worth mentioning because in other similar games it's one or the other. You can continue from specific areas, but then you're forced to fight against strong enemies at a low level. Or you can keep all of your upgrades/abilities, but you'll have to start from the very beginning. I felt that this being possible was a nice way of maintaining balance between offering a challenge and it being a fair one. As I progressed further into KA, I started to feel that it got to be cheesy. It's because too many of the same heavy hitter enemies and drones/shields being used at once made things much harder. I'm sure that it's easy to artificially inflate a game's difficulty, but for the most part, players prefer when things are well balanced, and there's a sense of fairness that goes alongside the level of difficulty. It didn't feel that way towards the end of KA. I could say something similar about the first hour or two of KA. The early game was one of the hardest parts to remain entertained by because of having to rely on the basics without any hard-hitting abilities or power-ups. If KA could quickly get to the point in the beginning and avoid spamming specific enemies towards the end, chances are that I'd have a better opinion of it. I played Kiborg Arena a little under 4 hours and felt that I'd seen enough to give my thoughts. The truth is that it ended up being a rougher experience than I expected. It wasn't completely terrible, seeing as how there were aspects of it that I liked/kept me entertained, but making it so that the beginning or end of a game is frustrating to deal with is a good way to make it so that some players won't want to play or finish it. As Kiborg Arena stands, some people will enjoy it, but I didn't feel completely drawn into it, so I don't recommend it. How do you feel about games based on a previous one's style of gameplay? Have you dropped games because of taking too long to take off? If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much for watching.